Good afternoon.
Well, Steve, it's been nice talking to you, Mike.
Same,
Hey,
same here. See you
it's a
later.
great day. I'm President Joyce Montgomery with a year of inspired action. I want to recognize a recent promotion for Anthony Hodges and his wife. They both have been promoted from the rank of lieutenant to captain. So, congratulations, Antonio. Also, we've had several people asking us about Alex Bowman and where is he? Eddie Barnes said he went to see Alex and he says that he would like to have people visit him for short visits. So if you're able, after 3 o'clock, that's right, after three, he has stuff until three, and then he's free, and he would love to have people come and visit. So if you, where is he? Brandon Oaks. We got that. Okay. Thank you. Now, at 312 is his room. We got it all here. All right. The introspection today was Captain Antonio Hodges on the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good afternoon, everyone. As we enter the final month of this summer, I've been thinking personally about seasons and how quickly they seem to change. It feels like summer just began. We were making plans, enjoying longer days, spending time with family, traveling, and looking forward to everything this season would bring. And now, almost without realizing it, we're approaching its end. Life can feel the same way. We move through seasons of growth, change, celebrations, challenge, waiting, and new beginnings. Some seasons we wish would last forever, while others we can't wait to get through. But every season has something to teach us. Sometimes we become so focused on asking what's next that we forget to ask, what is this season trying to teach me now? Maybe this season is teaching us to slow down and appreciate the people around you. Maybe it's challenging us to step outside of our comfort zone. Maybe it's reminding us that we still have something valuable to contribute. Or perhaps it's simply teaching us to be grateful for the things we once prayed for and how hard we worked to get through. And I think that connects beautifully with what we do here at Kiwanis. Much of our service is about planting seeds that we may never see personally grow. A conversation, an encouraging word, an hour, a volunteer, a meal provided, and an opportunity given to a young person that seems small to us, but it may become a defining moment in someone else's season. We don't always get to harvest the seeds we plant, but that doesn't mean that planting means any less important. As we close out this summer, perhaps we could take a moment to ask ourselves three questions. What from this season am I grateful for? What has this season taught me? And before this season ends, what good can I still do for someone else? I'll leave you with this thought. Don't rush the season that you're in now, trying to reach the next one. Every season brings something to appreciate, something to learn, something and an opportunity to leave something better than what you found. And I close with that. With our pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I'd like to call Andre Brooks up to introduce our guest. And I think we have a few, don't we? And more coming. Okay.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to welcome all of our guests. I'm going to introduce you and ask you to stand along with your host today and remain standing till we have welcomed all of our guests with our applause. Our first guest is Tina Hendrick. She is a guest of Melissa Woodson. Michelle Van Gerven, and she is here on her own, but we had a nice chat, and she's very interested in learning about our program. Diane Speaks with Chris Rao. Hannah Greco, and I believe, Hannah, you're here by yourself, but we are glad, with Virginia Tech Carilion to hear our speaker today. Darren Gray with Jeff Vick. Emma Beatty. Cabell Reynolds. He's with Don Chichester. Good work, Don. And Taylor Bruce. Is that correct? And he is our Key Club Lieutenant Governor, and he's with the Cave Spring Key Club. So please help me welcome all of our guests.
Now, I'd like to call Tom Fitzpatrick up. Tom has earned his permanent badge. Yay, Tom. We approved Tom at the April board meeting, and he is now getting his permanent badge. Way to go. I like eager people. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Hey, Tom. It's an exchange program. Thank you. Okay, announcements. We have the SLP Service Leadership Program meeting today after this meeting. We have the Foundation Board meeting today at 1:45 at CAC Trust, which is the Wells Fargo building on the 12th floor. We have book club meets tonight. A lot going on today. 5:30 at the Crystal Spring Grocery. Now, if you don't know about the book club, it's the club to be in. Everyone in it loves it. So it works that you read the book that you are interested in, and then you report on that book. So everyone is reporting on a different book, and sometimes you hear about a book that you would have never thought of that you end up reading. So I think it lasts an hour. They're right on target. David Hartman runs it, and he runs a tight ship. So if you haven't come, join them tonight. It's usually about 10 to 12 people. It's not a little club, it's a big club. So if you have a book you'd like to share, please join them today at Crystal Spring Grocery Store. That sounds like a funny place, I know. Tomorrow, it's the big day for us. It's the dedication of the star. And we will happen that tomorrow at 10 a.m., Mill Mountain. And we are going to celebrate Nancy Howe, AG from Carilion. It's who the star is going to be dedicated to. So, yay! Sherry, would you like to talk about your project?
You could charge me a brag buck for this. I was going to thank, we've got Ken Briggs here today, and I bragged on him last week, but I wanted to tie that into the invitation that's on your tables to help in September with the Nature Park. What Ken did in his week when he was signed up to volunteer is, in his, as usual, thoughtful way, he brought in others who might benefit from that volunteer opportunity. And he brought in 2 people from the Action Club. And they actually live nearby. This is like practically their backyard in a way. And for them to have a sense of ownership in that garden is very meaningful. So I want to brag on Ken, who's always deepening connections and taking it the extra mile. So thank you, Ken. take a look on the table. Yeah, let's give Ken a round of applause. On your tables are the invitations to sign up for a week in September. We'll continue this rotation of volunteers working in the garden. I also want to give a shout out to Jeff Vick. Yay, he's going to involve Roanoke College's CKI in the garden. So we're very excited about that. And we have a cleanup. We haven't done one in a while. So this is a partnership with the Environment Committee, the Nature Park Committee, which we're joining actually that committee, and SERVE, Standing for Equity in the Roanoke Valley. Decca Knight runs this organization. She's doing all the hard work. All we have to do is show up at the playground on September 12th and help clean up that watershed by working together to get rid of the litter in the area. So I hope to get to see you on September 12th at 10 o'clock at our playground. Thanks.
Andre Brooks, where is she? Oh, there she is. Oh, she has her mouth full, so chew while you walk. I think Mother used to say, don't chew and run or don't eat and run. That doesn't apply here.
It's don't talk with your mouth full. Well, I was so pleased to see so many of you at Rimini's the other evening for our fun event. I know if you were there, how many of you were there? We had a great party, a great time, and the room was full, and the food was excellent, and the drink was good too. So if you like that, or if you'd like to find out about our fun events, we have another one scheduled for August 25th. We're going to the Green Goat over in Wasena Park. I'll be providing directions how to get there because the bridge is missing for 2 years. And then when we leave the Green Goat, we're going over to Blue Cow for ice cream. So I'll be bringing some directions for both those places, but please plan to join us 5:30 at Green Goat on August 25th.
I think it's interesting that we're going to eat the Green Goat and go with Blue Cow. I think that's kind of cool. I guess I'm into colors. All right. I like John has an announcement that he's been asked to make.
Thank you, President Joyce. I got to share with you as a brief aside that Dave Farnham came up to me about 10 minutes ago and said, "Do you ever get upset?" And I said, "You really need to ask that when my wife is seated here." I'm glad that some people don't think I do. Thank you. That must be Dave Bowers. I'm just guessing. I wanted to make an announcement on behalf of Lori Baker Lloyd with the National Bank of Blacksburg. She's actually in Blacksburg today and maybe on Zoom. Is she, Mike, by chance? Maybe he'll be joining us. Good. I don't feel a pressure too much on the announcement. But her co-worker, John Cornett McKee, is here. Where are you, John? Where are you sitting? Right there. Who's been here frequently. And I wanted to use this opportunity to introduce you to the club because NBB has a corporate membership and Lori is the lead person, but John has really been the person that represents the bank frequently. And I put your name on the attendance sheet so you can sign your own name instead of writing it in. But he's a corporate member, and congratulations to your firm for stepping up to the corporate membership level, which several people are doing, including Ram House. The other people are involved with that, and it's a good deal, particularly if other people are representing the firm besides one. Well, this announcement does come from Lori Baker Lloyd, and I'm reading what she sent me just recently. On behalf of Kiwanis and Lori Baker Lloyd, I make the following request. Blue Ridge Literacy, and there should be on each of your tables a handout I placed there with the BRL logo at the top. I'm going to summarize what the letter says. Blue Ridge Literacy, one of our recent grant recipients, is looking for a few good Kiwanian men and women to fully execute its commitment to developing whole life skills for students in their English as a second language program They are seeking Kiwanian volunteers to put students through the paces for job interviews and job placement preparation. They're seeking 5 to 10 Kiwanian volunteers to conduct mock interviews for their advanced level students and provide feedback. They will supply interview questions, job scenarios, and feedback sheets, and have identified a number of potential dates between September 22nd and October 1st. So we're talking about 6 weeks out from now. The sign-up sheets should be on your tables if you're so inclined. And as Lori says, Blue Ridge Literacy has been a friend of the Kiwanis Club for some time and a frequent grant recipient. Sign-up sheets are on your tables. Please let us know if you're available for the dates listed, and either Lori or a member of the Blue Ridge Literacy team will be in touch. Thanks in advance for your support. That's on behalf of Lori Baker Lloyd.
Thank you, John. The sign-up sheet is on the back of the BRL. So the sign-up is on the back of that sheet, if anybody would like to do that. It said good men and good women. I think that's all of us. So start writing. All right, brag bucks. Any brag bucks today? For $2, you can brag about anything you would like, and the money goes to the foundation. We only have 20 seconds to do that.
Get out the way. Get out the way. What? Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jean Bollendorf, and I just wanted to take a moment to brag on Williamson Road Business Association and Valerie Brown and the wonderful Kiwanians who volunteered with me this past weekend on Saturday at the Commonwealth Day of Play. Thanks very much to Jim Graves, to Fred Jeter, to Mike McAvoy, to Don Witt, to Harry Zuloff, and who am I missing? John Cornett McKee as well. And hopefully I didn't miss anyone. It was a warm day. It was a full day, but we really enjoyed ourselves. And I'm glad that we were able to show up for kids in the community and also get our name out in the community.
I'm Ken Briggs. Before I brag, I'd like to respond to Sherry Hartman. Did Sherry pay to brag on me? But anyway, she bragged on me for inviting others to help water the garden. When you reach a certain age, you realize it's easier to get help than it is to drag that hose. So I would encourage all of you to ask others to be involved. My brag is on Chris Rouse's guest, Diane Speaks. So good to connect with her again. Many of you may remember our effort to build a playground a few years ago, and Diane was a key person in raising money and connecting us with the community. Thank you, Diane.
It's a great day to be a Kiwanian, right? Say it back to me. It's a great day to be a Kiwanian. All right. Great to see everybody today. I've been gone for a while. Went to visit my mom in upstate New York, and that's my first brag. My mom is 85 years old, fought back from a whole bunch of health issues, and she's still living in her own house. She drives, which is questionable, but she is my biggest inspiration. I want to thank everybody for all your support and kind words over the last few months. Also, and this is why I gave John $12. Bart Wilner is my sponsor, so you can thank him for me being here. Bart and I had a meeting a couple of years ago, and I asked him simply, where's the best place to go? Which organization to get as connected as possible in this community? And it happened to be a Wednesday. So he said, come with me at noon today. Meet me at at Charter Hall. And ever since then, I've been hooked. So I want to thank Bart and just say to everybody, Bart's a wonderful person and a great leader in this community. Let's hear it for Bart, please. Now, another brag on our senior advisors for our senior leadership program, Ken Briggs and Reef Kessler. Where are you, Reef? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Hiding over by the speaker. These guys have gotten me through on this senior leadership, this service leadership program I'm supposed to be chairing. It's really these guys, okay? They're doing all the work, and we have wonderful committee members. I'm not going to take time to mention everybody, but I want to thank everybody. And for those of you that don't know what service leadership programs are, there are three components. We have the Action Club, which Mike Loveman and some of his colleagues lead. We also have CKI, which is the college version of Key Club, and folks like Jeff Vick are part of that. And we also have a large contingent of Key Clubs. And you heard the name Taylor Gruce earlier today. Taylor is from Cave Springs, and he is this year's lieutenant governor. And you all know how powerful the Cave Springs Key Club is. Out of all the clubs we have, I believe they have done and accomplished the most programs over the last year. So let's hear it for Taylor Gruce and his folks. It's a great day to be a Kiwanian.
First, John.
He's infatuated with
Speak right into it.
I just wanted to tell you that I learned at the beginning of this meeting that it's Harry Zuloff's birthday, and I wanted to thank Harry for all he does for our membership. Thank you, Harry.
Did we embarrass you, Harry? Okay, if somebody starts it, not me. A singer. Day. Come on. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, dear Harry. Happy birthday to you. Woohoo, Harry! Now, I'd like to call up Reef Kessler to introduce our speaker today. Oh, you're going to do it. My paper does not have your name on it.
Oh. Yeah, Reef can introduce me to introduce Ron, but this is easier this way. Well, it's a pleasure to be back with you today and introduce my colleague, Ron Bradbury, the Director of Admissions in our medical school. Now, Ron is a fascinating person. He's been here once before. You may remember him when he steps up. But after over 25 years as a higher education administrator with some teaching as well, he decided about 10 years ago to join us in the medical school, just a couple of years after our first class graduated, to be our assistant director of admissions. 2 years later, became the director of admissions. So he has a world of experience working both on the administrative side of things and the human side of things. But what's even more interesting is that he will tell you that he grew up in a swamp, right? And so, and to this day, he remains very connected to nature. So that sets the stage for his role in really all the skills you need to be able to pursue the challenging task of the art and science of finding future physicians, because it has to do with the nature of people. And it has to do with the quantitative side of how the process happens, the administrative side, as well as the very human side of selecting just the right folks. So please join me in welcoming our Director of Admissions, Ron Bradbury.
It's true. I grew up in a swamp. Has anybody been to the Great Dismal Swamp down in Southwest Virginia or Southeast Virginia? Okay. Yeah. It's got one of the two natural lakes in Virginia. Anybody know what they are? Mountain Lake and Lake Drummond. Yep, Lake Drummond's in the middle of the Great Dismal Swamp. So it's not typically a claim to fame that gets mentioned, but it is something, it happened. So I'm pleased to be here today. It's really a delight to come chat with you guys. As Dr. Learman said, I've been here before, fortunately long enough that you guys have mostly forgotten. So I don't have to worry about any recrimination or whatever from that talk coming forward. I'd like to reintroduce Hannah Greco. She is the Assistant Director of Admission at the medical school, one of the guests today, and just does a lot to help us carry this mission forward. In the recent days, I guess you've been talking about the growth of the medical school and have a couple more medical school talks in your immediate future. One of the career pieces of advice I can give to young people is when the senior leader of an institution suggests that you do something and an invitation to speak at Kiwanis and gives you a title, you just kind of go with that. That's one way to advance your career. So Dr. Learman's idea was the art and science. Funny you should mention that. We can talk later, maybe. So he suggested the title and it works for me. So it's a theme that we do. I work with a lot of you guys. So if you know me from your involvement working in the medical school admissions process as a volunteer, would you raise your hand? And the rest of you look around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 9 of you, and more can come after today. We're happy to take more volunteers into our program. I'm going to describe a little bit about what we do and how that works. So one last thing preliminary. Some of you are old enough to remember before YouTube and before DVDs and before VHS tapes, there was cassette tapes and slide projectors, right? And one of my big moments in high school or in middle school, I guess, was when the teacher would let me be the person to advance the slides, right? So you start the cassette tape and then and that's when you have to act. So look at this. All right, this is going to work out. We're going to have some fun with this one. So the art and science of recruiting new physicians for VTC SOM. Next one. Okay, so since I am an educator, and I appreciate that introduction, that segued nicely, and you didn't even know, I'm going to give a little quiz. And because as I look around the room, many of you seem to have been out of school for more than a year or two. It's a pretty simple quiz to start out. So, boop, which one holds more liquid, this or next, this? All right. And I understand we have some people on Zoom. Mike Obrakta, I understand, former president, is Zooming. Mike, this is for you. But which one holds more liquid? So let's do the old applause meter. If you think the barrel holds more liquid, clap your hands. Go ahead, clap. Yay! Okay. Now for the other one, the little 1,000 milliliter beaker. All right. See how easy this is? You guys are well on your way to academic success. Now we have another quiz. This one's a little more tricky. Next slide. All right. Which one of these is the most beautiful? You can kick it twice. This one or this one. Now, they're both portraits of women. Which one do you find the most beautiful? First one, the one on the left with all the colors. Clap your hands if you like that one. Okay, a little warm applause. Other one, assuming the rest of you, clap your hands. All right. So we have the art and science. We have the science of quantification and we have the art of beauty. Next slide. So the connotations of art and science are pretty clear, right? Art has a subjective element to it, whereas science is more quantifiable. In our process for selecting the physicians that are going to join us here in the community, and not just for medical school, because as I'm sure you'll hear or have heard, many of the physicians who come through our pipeline end up back practicing in the local area, serving the community. But there are two elements to this process that we put together. One of them, art. The art part of it is very subjective, and I'll talk about that a little bit, and that's a role that you can have. The other is more quantifiable, but they both go together, and either without the other would let us down in selecting the next class. So art and science at their core are both methods of inquiry into the nature of the world. While science seeks to understand the world and explain phenomena through various rigorous observation, experimentation, and analysis, art explores the world through subjective interpretations, emotions, and sensory experiences. Both disciplines strive to make sense of the world and communicate their finding to others. Science, they're both helping us understand something about the world through different methodologies and perhaps emphasizing different aspects of discovery or helping us discover different qualities. So here's the contextualization. Here's how this fits into Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine. Click. So when I'm talking to wannabe doctors, they come in all shapes and sizes, from undergraduates to graduate students, all walks of life. The way I summarize their challenge is very simple. I say, we know you're smart. We need to know if you're nice. So if you listen to the talks about the curriculum and the culture at Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine, we're very small, we're very collaborative. Students are teaching other students. They're pulling together to move the plow. It's not a competitive environment in terms of ladder climbing and crushing your classmates underneath your trajectory up the ladder. They're working together at this goal. And so we need people fundamentally who fit the bill of being nice. They have to be able to cooperate. They have to work in groups. They have to get along. It's a very simple paradigm. So in American education, the smart piece is pretty easy. All right. So the sciencey stuff. So here's the science part of the art and science of selecting physicians. We have at our disposal in the Office of Admission a lot of information. So when someone wants to go to medical school, they fill out this monstrously difficult application. It's pages and pages and pages. It usually takes at least a few weeks to fill out if they work at it diligently. Chronicles their whole life and all the things they do. Before they fill out the application, they start getting themselves things to do to put in the application. So they pursue all avenues of service and medical, they pursue research, do a lot of things. But when they get to apply, all that information goes in, and these are some of the things that we see. This is some of the objective pieces of the puzzle that help us quantify their brain power. American education does a lot of things really well, and one of the things American educational system does is to quantify brain power. We have a pretty good idea these people have the academic rigor and the mental agility to make their way through medical school. So we see this medical college admissions test score. That's the medical version of the SAT for those of you who are younger. We see their GPAs, and the GPAs, the grade point averages, get broken up into all sorts of different categories. Science GPA, math GPA, non-science GPA, lots of different flavors, undergraduate, high school GPAs, all those things. We see details of all the hours they've spent doing all these avenues of service to prepare themselves. So many hours in Dr. Jones's lab and so many hours in clinical experience here and there. We see their detailed records going all the way back to high school. So if you know someone who's trying to get into medical school, high school does matter a little bit. So we get all these records going back, and it's all verified for us so we know it's accurate. And through that, we get a sense of the depth and the breadth of the knowledge that they have. Now, if some of this stuff sounds like we're trying to be difficult, we're not. What we're trying to do is make sure that we position people who are positioned for success. We're trying to admit people who are capable, because it's a big deal to get into medical school, and it's an even bigger deal if you can't make it through. It's a real challenge on both sides of the puzzle. So we were trying to find ways to make sure that we have some sense that they're ready for the challenges of this very difficult curriculum. All right, so now for the artsy stuff. There are elements that American education does not quantify quite as well. So when I was in school, I got a grade on a report card, and the closest thing that I would get to a comment was on some of these other things was the comment from the teacher. Ron needs to pay better attention. He's very easily distracted. Something like that would go home to my mom and dad, who would process me, adjust my expectations along the lines of what the teacher would like to see. So there's a number of these things. Kindness. We don't give a kindness score to our students in high school or college. We don't give them a score for empathy. We don't give them a score for their sympathetic nature. Go ahead, a couple more clicks. For their sensitivity. One more. For their moral compass. So there's nothing in their academic record that we see that addresses any of these things. So one more click. So what we're really looking for is, are they a nice person? And when you think about the kind of physician you want you want to have a really smart doctor, right? You want someone who's got the medical knowledge, the background to make an accurate diagnosis, but absent a human being, you've got a little bit of trouble, right? And conversely, you don't just want a really nice guy or a really nice lady to be your doctor. Not nice is nice just isn't enough all by itself. So you need this combination of nice, someone you can trust, someone who will maintain a good therapeutic relationship with you, someone who will honor your privacy, someone who will understand the setting that you're living in and how that affects your health, what your resources are and aren't. That is an important piece. And that's what the volunteers who help in our process are really good at helping us do. And I'll tell you a little bit about how that works as we go to the next slide. So here's how we do it in very broad strokes. This is a bird's eye view from, well, maybe a high flying bird, 10,000 feet. So before the volunteers get involved, we do our part in the admissions office to identify the applicants who are smart. Again, that's pretty easy. So the way we do that, the school admissions committee and leadership sets minimum standards. And they're not random. So there's a minimum MCAT score and there's a minimum GPA. And those are set based on studies that have been done by the American Association of Medical Colleges that says students with these combinations of GPA and MCAT score are most likely to succeed in medical school. Below these levels, their success in medical school is much less predictable. So we take that information and pretty simply, when people apply, we say, okay, you qualify or you don't. If your GPA is too low, if your MCAT score is too low, that's the end of your trajectory toward Virginia Tech, really. And in pretty much every medical school has a basement level of scores. There's a minimum standard that everybody meets. So we take the people that meet or exceed the minimum, and by and large, everybody exceeds the minimum considerably. And then we process them through our interview process. And I'll describe the interview process in more detail in just a minute. But this interview process helps us filter out those smart applicants that we interview. And we interview a little over 300 every year. We have 7 weekends. If you're downtown in Roanoke on a Saturday, you'll see a bus that says off service or custom. That's us. We run around Roanoke in a bus, among the other things that we do when they're here this weekend, on that weekend. But that interview helps us identify this pool of people who have the qualities that we think are very important for physicians at Virginia Tech in particular, but in general at large in the world, right? That combination of capable academics and just good human beings making good choices, ready for a life of service in a very arduous career. That group of committee, click one more, that goes through our admissions committee. So all the information from the interview weekend gets fed back into the admissions committee, who is a group of 24 physicians and 4 students who review the applications in detail over the coming weeks. And then at the end, we end up with the group that is most aligned with the mission of the medical school, because every medical school has their culture and different strengths and weaknesses as far as what they value in terms of that culture and the department of the school. And so we find the ones that are best suited for Virginia Tech and can function in a place like Roanoke. As big as the city is for Hannah, some people want a bigger city and they'll choose, I think I want a city with a professional football team. Others are like, oh, this place is great. And we want to find the people that really resonate with our community through the process. All right, one more slide. So here's how this works. We have the process we use to interview, the fancy name is called the multiple mini interview. It's one of those long names that's actually very descriptive. So every applicant comes to town and they will go through 10 interviews with community volunteers. If you're interested in this, you can track us down through Kiwanis or just reach up to me afterward and we can help you know the process. But each of these applicants will sit with 10 different volunteers and they will discuss a scenario. Now, this scenario is mostly Latin. So any of you really, really old people can read that. I didn't learn Latin. They stopped teaching that in school before I got there. I know that they did some, right? Some people learned it on a chalkboard probably. But what I put into the middle of this is some of the ways that we build our scenario to illustrate. So we see these scenarios, we create them, and we put into the scenarios elements that the AAMC, the American Association of Medical Colleges, has identified as important qualities for physicians, and we put in pieces of the puzzle that are relevant to our mission here at Virginia Tech Carillion just down the road. And so these scenarios provide a context for a conversation. Some of them are a sentence long, some of them are a couple paragraphs long. And the applicant, though, next click. So the applicant comes to the interview weekend and they have 2 minutes to read each one of these scenarios, and then they have 7 minutes to talk. Click. So each scenario has one interviewer. One more click. And the interviewers have a rubric. So we give you some rules. We kind of define the palette and the size of the canvas for you to paint. And we say, we think a good answer is going to look something like this. You know, if there's a question about some ethical conundrum, if the person says something like, well, I think I can get away with that, so it's probably okay, that's probably not the ethical compass that we most resonate with. Okay. We want the kind of people who are going to say, yeah, I'm going to do the right thing no matter who's watching. So as just a quick example, that's what the rubric does. It defines a range of answers, from really answers that we think are kind of scary or weak to answers that are strong. And so the volunteers have a 7-minute conversation. We call it an interview. The very best ones become conversational in tone, where there's a back and forth. The applicant says, well, I think this is a really important aspect of this conversation. And the interviewer says, well, if that's what you think, what about this? And so there's a back and forth. And through that conversation, the interviewer then makes some notes and then gives a score to the applicant. Actually, 3 scores. That's more detail than you need right now. But they end up with a set of scores. And so we can go to the one more. They provide, the volunteers provide us with this giant bit of data. It's not the quantitative data about how smart they are. We know that. This is the data about this applicant seemed like a really good person. This applicant had great insights into the depth of human nature. This applicant was culturally sensitive. This applicant was somebody I would like to adopt, if not as my doctor, or if not as my son, then at least as my doctor. And so we take that information and we take it to the admissions committee, and then the admissions committee meets and processes that into the decision. And so the people who end up making it here have all gone through this process, and we've got a pretty good idea that they have the academic ability and preparation to succeed. And we have a pretty good idea that they're the kind of people that we would really like to work with and that we would like working with us and our families. So one more click. So here are some advantages. Let's go ahead and click this full slide. I think there's 4 of them, Mike. So these are the advantages of our interview process. Lots of voices to inform the decision. So it's not just one person saying yes or no, it's 10 people making a group assessment. On that note, it's 10 of you. It's 10 people who each bring a rich life experience and background that's unique. And that's a richness to our tapestry that we don't get, that not in every medical school is able to replicate. It mitigates prudential biases. So maybe you don't like people who have nose rings, maybe someone else does. And that kind of bias disappears when you have a group of 10. The lower stakes per engagement for the applicant. So it's not a make it or break it. Every one of these interviews is not the end of the trajectory if the applicant has a bad day or a bad moment. And then another advantage is it's adaptable to specific values. So the scenarios that we use to help us uncover the qualities we're interested in are very specific to us, and we can refine those year after year and make them more and more appropriate. So one more click. Let's go to the, oh, sorry, then. So, and then the other thing is it's more difficult to practice for. We're really not trying to stand in opposition to the applicants. We are the admissions committee, not the go away committee. So we really want people to come, but we also want to kind of get an accurate assessment. And we like the fact that the interviews, they can't really practice for them. They just don't know what's coming. So the volunteer interviewers that we have from the community, and there's about 120 people. Not everybody's a quant. We might even have some Rotarians, I hate to say. But we have a variety of people from across the Roanoke community. They have an authentic impact helping us identify future positions. It really, really makes a difference. This is not a process we go through just for the fun of it. The information from the volunteers really informs our thinking. They get to influence the local community, as I said, doctors who are going to be students here for 4 years, but also many of whom are going to practice here for a length of their career. And then another, the next one is it showcases, oops, sorry, that was my stop talking Ron note. It shows the Roanoke people in the business and the community. So one more slide, I think, and then I'm done. So I'm on the right track here. So this is the big global overview of why this process I'm so excited about. The school needs information. We need to know who's going to fit here and who's going to be likely to succeed. This process helps us uncover that. In conjunction with the application, we get all this data on the smart and on the nice. The applicants come to town and they learn about the Roanoke Valley and about the school. So I love Roanoke. I've been here in the community for about 15 years. I grew up in Virginia, so aware of Roanoke through the years as a vacation destination. But if you call somebody at UCLA who's been grown up on the West Coast and you ask them, what do they think about Roanoke? You might have to go more global. You might have to say, have you ever been east of the Mississippi? Do you know there's an ocean called the Atlantic? Have you heard about the birthplace of America in Virginia? Okay, they don't know anything about Roanoke, and many of them come to town, and we do all our interviews in person, and they have no idea. They're like, oh, look, there's people here. They're nice people. And that's one of the real advantages of our interview process is they sit with members of the community. They sit with their colleagues and their future patients. And they go, oh, wow, this is a pretty cool spot. We show them around town. We take them on a bus tour. We help them know the good things about Roanoke, the pace of Southern living, which is so nice, the lower cost of living, an apartment here in Roanoke, they can't believe it. If you're from Southern California or New York City or Seattle, you're paying about $3,000 to live in a closet with a toilet. It's pretty small spaces. And they come here and they're like, so the cost of living, all those things they get to see and they understand. And then the Roanoke Valley also gets the benefit because we are engaged with the medical school. You guys are engaged and you get to be a part of this process. And so it's not symbiotic, but it's a win-win-win situation for the three big players in the game. So that's the process we have. Delighted to share that with you. If you have any questions, I think we have a minute or two left. I'm happy to answer those. So, questions, sirs? Let's go with Reef.
Just to ask a question, science to back this up, this is a good way to select people who are kind and sympathetic or not.
So Reef is asking, is there science behind the art? So we do this this subjective assessment to find out what kind of people are. And yes, there is science behind it. There is science that says the kind of people who we're looking for have success both getting through medical school and then in practice. The doctors who are smart but mean tend to get sued more than the doctors who are nice but mean. So there's a lot of data, and this process has been studied very well. The MMI process itself has been endorsed by a lot of different studies that show it's very effective in identifying the kinds of qualities that we think it does. Bart?
MMI program, I think it started in
It did.
pretty widespread.
It is.
But the investment formula that you just very eloquently outlined was looking for ethical, looking for intelligent, looking for nice. How was that developed? Was that done locally just 10 years ago or so? In Roanoke? How was that formula? And I guess it's changed or tweaked every once in a while. How about that?
So Bart is asking about the development of the sort of criteria that we're looking for the non-cognitive, if you will, the subjective qualities. I guess the answer I can give, and maybe Dr. Lehrman, if you want to jump in on this with some more background, but the core competencies, the American Association of Medical Colleges has identified through their existence and practice competencies that are necessary and helpful for medical students, both on the entrance to medical school and then on the exit from medical school. Those are the competencies that I've summarized as NICE: the ethical judgment, the commitment, the dependability, It's all the things. Remember the book that was everything I needed to know in school or in life I learned in kindergarten? It was a popular professional book years ago. Basically, play nice in the sandbox, share your crowns, color inside the lines. Those are the kinds of things. But the AAMC made that more academically oriented, and they put out these competencies for medical students, and we use that to build the foundation of our process. So it is endorsed. Dr. Learman?
Say our knowledge in medical school that systematically applies function members as part of our FMF process. In terms of data, our whole ability to test ourselves is anecdotal. When we have that small numbers, but when we look at the very few students that still make it, most partially don't make it over the 13, 14 years that graduates. It's more likely due to their challenge in the academic space. It's much rarer than the problems professionalism variation in space as a reason that they might not be able to succeed. All mobile sets are rare, both are rare, but the professionalism are rare academic.
I'm guessing those of you on Zoom couldn't hear how eloquently Dr. Learman, which is fine. He's not, yeah, but we'll let that slide for now. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Whittle it down to 100 or so. From there to the casuals.
So we actually start with about 6,000, 5,000, 6,000 initial applications. Not everybody completes. Some people give up along the way or whatever. We'll end up with around 4,000 completed applications. We select to interview around 300. And that's what my office and my colleagues do. That involves a lot of reading, a lot of reading. So their applications come with all the demographic data that you would expect. Then they have a sort of statement that they all write on their why they want to be doctors or how they got to where they are. Then they write for us 3 different essays that we've designed to kind of give us a little preliminary insight into their soul and their thinking. So we read all those, and it's just it's a brute force kind of process. We just start reading when the applications are available. As of today, I think we've read over about 1,000. We'll have about 3,000 more to read, I expect, before the dust settles. But it's that process, and then we have rubrics that we use in our office to identify the candidates, and we have a lot of experience. I'm very young. Hannah's even younger. But between us, we have a lot of years, and Dr. Pusakowski, our boss. So we have a pretty good sense now of like finding the diamonds when we see them, when we come across them by applying our rubric. But it's just brute force and a lot of reading. Yes, sir.
But just to follow up, just said, each lot.
Correct.
Do you know how it compares to medical schools across the country? Where the average is?
So the question is about the comparative competitiveness based on number of applications for VTC versus other medical schools. I know other larger medical schools have a proportionally larger. The last time I had the numbers in my head, the actual selection ratio here was about as difficult as it is anywhere in the country, just based on the numbers. I don't have the hard data on that I can roll off confidently. I don't know if Dr. Learman does.
Say 300 or so. That says a lot about the bench. That have been through the process, through just a few are excluded based upon serious errors during the line and multiple times.
Yeah, there are some that don't make it, but yeah.
So we feel confident that as we grow, honestly, we'll still have plenty of standing out. So we may no longer be able to selective swing the country at that point, but we'll be doing this fine.
Another question? Yes, sir, ma'am. Let's go, ma'am. Mhm.
Admitted to medical school if you couldn't perform medical procedures without assistance. And that was built into many of the technical standards actually back when Dave was admitted to medical school. So we wrote an article that was published about the undifferentiated physician and taking issue with the idea that anybody could be any kind of doctor, and that would be a realistic expectation for graduation from medical school. It sounds like the core competencies might have replaced those technical standards.
No, so there's a very elaborate question rolling about the technical standards that are required for students to complete medical school or enter medical school, and how that relates to the AAMC core competencies. Those are separate. The AAMC core competencies are much less specific. Virginia Tech Carilion still has technical standards that students have to be able to accomplish. They have to assert that they can accomplish them with or without reasonable accommodations, which is a sort of standard phraseology around that. And yes, that is my understanding. That's a little bit beyond the scope of what I do, but I can say that in the interview process, we've had a variety of accommodations that we've made through the years. When students ask, we are obligated, but it's not even, it doesn't feel like an obligation. It's an opportunity, and we are able to come alongside that pretty easily. Yes, sir. Just secondly, go ahead. Oh,
I just want to share a personal story. About 35 years ago, our son graduated from the College of William and Mary, majored in biology, a very good student, good test taker. And we were so proud when he was admitted to the medical school at the University of Virginia. There were 140 in his class. And he worked really hard. But the third year, he started making rotations and decided, I don't want to do this the rest of my life. So he dropped out of medical school. If someone had asked him the questions that your students are being asked, then it would have saved him a lot of work, a lot of debt, and now he's teaching accounting at James Madison. It's spectacular. So,
they give you a mic back. How's that?
Okay. Sounds like a deal. Ugh.
Yes.
I want to make sure it runs. I was not asking you this. I volunteer involved in programs with a lot of other quality for at least 10 years. And it's a great opportunity. Tremendous local asset. Give me 1 day of your time. Now you got back into business. Now I'm getting some training. You know, to do this. But it's a really good idea. So Joseph, if you want to do it yourself, I would encourage you to get done.
Thank you, Lee. That's a good plug for you.
It is good.
All right. On top of that, Ron has asked for his honorarium to go to Roanoke Appalachian Trail Club. I guess when you grew up in the swamp, to those trails. I will share as well. I want to validate what it is they do. In June, which most of you know, I spent 3.5 days at Hotel Carilion from a tick bite and had many, as you know, physicians come into the room day after day, day after day. And I want you to know, kindness was definitely one of the things that stood out. Their generosity, their seemed to have all the time if you wanted it, kindness. And in fact, in your words, I adopted one of them to be my physician. So that is truly I think, paying off because I worked 20 years at Carilion with doctors, and some of them were before your time. So I want you to know, I think you're doing an excellent job. So kudos to you. All right. Next week, we're having another medical speaker, Michelle Rockwell. And she is great. These are fabulous. I know you don't want to meet next week. So come back. We'll be right here, and I'll see you next Wednesday.
I'll see you after the ice park. Absolutely. Will you bring the ice cream? Oh, I'm on an ice cream. Yeah. It was good, but that's great. Great sense of great.